suddenly change pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent. The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello, dear listener and viewer and people doing neither, and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. A little bit late with the show, so I've had to cancel too because, you know, life stuff gets in the way. And so this is the first one of the day. It is with someone who has been on ABW right from the very start. I remember one time you came on and you did a podcast in your car, and then you went to the stop to go to the shops, and you left your indicator on, and it go bing, bing, bing.
God.
It's Michael from You Are My Arsenal, one of the longest running Arsenal blogs and podcasts on and off. The one who took the Friends thing, the one where they ... has how you did all your podcasts, wasn't it?
Yeah. Every podcast was a take on a Friends title. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Danny, how are you?
Yeah, I am good. Had a busy day, and we've had 2 nice weeks in June, all of July and all of August. Like now, it is outside. It's about 20 degrees, which in your money is about 70, and it is pissing down with rain, blowing a gale, and it has been raining non-stop for 3 days.
Welcome to England.
I need to go and live somewhere warm. How you doing? How do you feel about the pre-season? Are you confident?
I'm not look, I'm just naturally confident coming off of last season. And I really do think that this I'm never one who reads into the preseason anything other than just fitness and just starting to try and see the pieces that come together. But overall, I'm not a big one, but I really do think I'm still kind of bullish on where we're going to be based off of where we were last season.
Yeah. So are you hoping that this season we're going to push on and maybe do a little bit more? Do you think it's going to be another season of, oh, that was close?
I think it's going to be closer than last season. But right now, until somebody does otherwise, and maybe it's Arsenal, I think you still have to go into the season with City being the presumptive favorites for the season. They're just a juggernaut, and they're just so it's what they do. But I do think it'll be a closer run-in. And I'm not saying that Arsenal can't pip it. I think that they actually have the team that could. But until we actually beat them, and I'm not even talking tomorrow at the Community Shield. I'm talking regular season. We beat them, and we look convincing against them, or at least look convincing against them. You got to go into the season thinking that City are the title favorites.
That is the problem. If they are easily, and I was looking when we did the preview shows last season, and some of those guys said, look, I don't think we might have beaten them once in the last 14 or 15 games or something like that, not including the Charity Shield. I think one of that was in the FA Cup, and that was during the dark times, and everything was a mess then. But for them to constantly beat us home and away, and last season, the best team we've had in 20 years, and they smashed us both times, to try and come back from something like that. But are you worried about Jesus being out? Is that going to be a problem? Who are we going to swap him with?
Well, I mean, right now you're just going to start with Nketiah, aren't you? You're going to start there, and you're going to hope that he, takes that opportunity to really kind of fit in there. I say that, but you could also go with Trossard as almost a false 9. I think he gives you a little bit closer to what you get off of Jesus, except for obviously the pressing off the ball, which I don't think that there's anybody better in the league than Jesus from the front. But I think, look, the great thing about it for that, I think we have options. You can be a little bit more direct with Eddie, or you can kind of keep the system intact using Trossard. So it's all just going to be depending on what Arteta wants to do.
It is, and it's amazing. I always say this, when we play Football Manager, when you first start out, you want as many players that play in as many positions at a decent level Have you ever known a Premier League side to have so many defenders, midfielders, attackers that can play in so many positions? That what he's got together there is such a squad of players that can do almost anything, and that is,
Right.
I think that's going to help loads this coming season, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it just gives you flexibility to change things up if you need to, whether you're dealing with fatigue of a player, a tactical situation that requires maybe a different look from from on the field. It just gives you so much flexibility. You can rotate players across the back line. You can rotate players through the midfield, and some of those midfield players can rotate into the back line and vice versa, which just makes it so flexible. Now, I do think, I think as the season goes on, at least the center back pairing, barring any injury, will wind up being the same throughout the season. I think that's going to be Gabriel and Saliba, but everything else can be kind of rotated in and out depending on the opponent, depending on the situation.
Just seeing someone's put it in the Abido WhatsApp group that Kudos has agreed to sign for Brighton for 40 million.
That's
40 million euros.
Yeah, that's, well, either they must be getting their Caicedo money somewhere soon. But look, Brighton does great business. They really do, and I know that I thought we were linked with him. I just didn't look like we were ever really that fully engaged on that one.
I think he would have been a backup for Saka on the right hand side, but that's why we signed Reece Nelson to a new deal. So
right,
I mean everything at the club, details getting out now are almost nothing. They've clamped down on that to an enormous level, whether it be ticket touts or whether it be inside information from the tea lady or any of the stuff like that. It's all they've clamped it all down. It's airtight. What do you think about this new goalkeeper from Brentford? Do we need another goalkeeper?
Well, look, I think what if we're getting Raya in, what it does, I think a lot of people are reading into it that there's that Arteta might be unhappy in some way with Ramsdale, and I don't think that's it. I think Arteta's been very vocal about wanting to have what he called competitive tension across every position in the field. Meaning essentially that that you have to play sharply, or there's somebody waiting that will take your spot, and he's going to play that player if they're consistently delivering in that position. And look, Raya is a fantastic goalkeeper. So, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you've never seen a team with two number one goalkeepers in it." And look, that's conventional wisdom, and I get it. But Arteta's shown that he's not a conventional thinker in how he wants his team to be. So I think he's looking at, and I think this is an opportunity presenting itself. I think Matt Turner really, I think, was worried about his playing time as it related to him getting into the U.S. men's national team. Yeah. He had Zach Steffen breathing down his neck. And if he's not playing, then Zach is going to get the starting time at the U.S. men's national team. So him going off I don't think it's a case of him not liking Arsenal or being upset that but he was never going to be a number one. He was always going to be number two to Ramsdale. And I think the move for Ray is kind of born from his desire to move away and seek a first team starting opportunity. And then just Raya looking to get out. I think that's kind of how that all kind of just came together. It's no secret that Raya was a goalkeeper that we were scouting before we even made the move for Ramsdale. Oh.
And his stats do look very good. Someone put a stats of from last season, and I think the gist of it was that Ramsdale makes too many errors. I was talking to a Sheffield United fan last night, and he said they didn't rate him at all. They said far too often he would come flying out of the box. He didn't control the ball in the air enough. They thought he was a bit of a clown at times. He didn't take the game seriously. And I thought, well, we've seen a little bit of that this season, and so maybe he does need someone who's on par with him to go, oi, if you don't start behaving yourself and not thinking the whole thing's a giant joke, then he's going to get your team place in the first team. And yeah,
look, it always comes down to this: if you don't provide that competitive push for a player. They become too relaxed and too comfortable. I'm not so sure that I don't think he took any game not seriously. I think obviously losing some of the stability with Saliba later in the season in front of him impacted him. I don't think he was really that poor as some people made him out to be. I know the numbers, but the one thing about goalkeeper stats, and this is something as somebody who's tried to, as somebody who's coached goalkeepers, and somebody who's tried to analyze goalkeepers, we don't really have really good data on goalkeepers, and the way that the data is measured is very subjective. I would say that the fact that Ramsdale still wound up with 13 clean sheets says an awful lot about his ability as a goalkeeper. I think, but I do think he needs to be pushed. I don't think that this is a bad move for him. And frankly, obviously the club have faith in him. They signed him to a new long-term contract. So I think it's only good. I think signing Ray is only going to be good for across the board for everybody.
I love Ramsdale and I love his antics. It's refreshing, and hopefully he'll be at the club for a very, very long time.
I agree.
But it was the passing out from the back, which is when he first came to us. That's what he was doing really well, hoofing the ball upfield to an on-running Martinelli or Saka, and he stopped doing that in recent last season. I think a couple of times he did it, and then he held his hip.
Right.
So maybe that was hurting him, or the accuracy wasn't good. But then we stopped doing it, and that was a really good avenue for a counter attack. So maybe change the goalkeeper for each game. But next season we could have high 50s games next season. 59 games.
That's the other thing people need to remember about this. We're now looking at least a minimum of maybe 55 games this year. And it could very well be that one of these goalkeepers becomes the Champions League goalkeeper plus maybe say like the FA Cup, and the other one is the league goalkeeper plus the League Cup. These both goalkeepers are going to play. They're going to push each other, and they're going to just make us that much better in the back.
True.
I mean, and Danny, let's be honest. This is the first time in like 20 years we've probably had two goalkeepers that we could all go, I don't care which one starts. Because when you go from, some of the absolute howlers that we've had there.
The Almunia era.
Yes. Oh, Lord.
Like Nick says here, for years you've had two number twos. We've never had a number one keeper. That is good. All right, should we get on and do your predictions then?
Sure. Well, hit me up.
Good. So going to do this button and then this one and then share it and then pass down the bottom and then make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Right. So it's Michael from @YouAreMyArsenal, and also youaremyarsenal.com is where you can go and find 15 years worth of blogs and stuff.
Yep. 15 years about that. Yeah, something to that effect. It's been a long while.
It is. It's we are the OAPs of the Arsenal content world. And what thanks did we get for any of it? Nothing. Nothing. So what are you going to go for Premier League winner?
I'm going to go with what I said at the opening. Until we prove otherwise, I think it's still got to be Man City.
Yeah, there's not much we can do about that, is there? So where have you got Arsenal finishes? This might be more.
If Man City's first, I'm going to stick with Arsenal at second.
Yes, second. I mean, I've gone a little bit mad, and I've put us down for winning it because I've let my heart rule my head, and that never works out well. So, what about top goal scorer at all competitions for the Arsenal? Because it's odd that we've got a striker who probably isn't going to be our top goal scorer again for the third season.
I see. You know what? I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say. Look, I don't think Jesus stays out long beyond this initial opening few weeks, and I'm going to go with Jesus as our top goal scorer.
Quite a few people have gone for that, and logically that would be the answer because he is in the middle of everything, and he is a goal threat. But hopefully that is the answer because last season we scored more Premier League goals last season than ever, beat everything Wenger ever did by one goal.
Right.
And so the goal scoring, I don't think, is going to be much of a problem for us next season or this coming season.
Nope.
Problem is going to be at the back, and he's done plenty to shore that up. I mean, if we have an entire fit squad, we've got 2 first 11s of half decent levels of quality, which is good. What are you going to go for Spurs? Where do you think they're going to finish?
I'm going to go with 7th as well. I think that's. I think that I just don't. I don't know where they're. I don't know this manager in terms of what he can bring. I think he'll obviously make them a little bit more fluid in their play, but have they really addressed the issues that they have? And if they don't sell Kane, yeah, he'll score goals, but he's not going to help them do anything. They're just not that good right now, and I think it's a smart move getting an attacking manager, and at least he can start building a foundation. But unless they sell him, they can't really start to turn the corner on doing anything. So I'm going to go 7th.
Yeah, they've just I was reading today they've agreed to buy a 6'1" young Argentinian from Argentina for about 25 million. I mean, that just kind of sums them up. I mean, another striker is not what they need.
Yeah.
If they lost Kane, they could probably do well with letting Son go up front. He's got everything you need, and with Coulson's an absolute joke of a player. But for Brazil, 20 goals in 44 games, so there's something there. But it's just they're going full Spursy by messing it up all the time. So, what are you going to go for the FA Cup winner? I'm
going to go with Arsenal as a good shout. I think that's an actually good call. I think we're stronger. I think we actually have a second 11 that can be competitive into that.
Yeah, that is very good. How about the League Cup? Are you gonna?
That's Man City's cup. They never stop. They win that thing every year. Just etch their names in it permanently. I think they're the only team that actually cares about that cup.
It is weird, but I suppose it is an early season boost, isn't it? Because the finals usually end of February, beginning of March. And then if things are flagging, plus they use it for all their reserve players. But they've been flogging a load of their young players again, which is amazing. People paying £20 million for a Manchester City youth player. I mean, Liverpool used to do that as well. And we can't even get rid of our first team players for 20 million, which is an absolute nightmare. And Champions League. Now, I've picked Arsenal. That just shows how much sense I've got with all of this. What have you got?
I'm going to go with, for me, it's Real Madrid. I think with Ancelotti's last season there, I think with all the young talent that they have, and their seasoned veteran, the seasoned veterans, I think that they're going to win it all.
Yeah, it's if they get Mbappe, then I think that's probably definitely going to happen because he's not a bad player, is he?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So the next one we got up is top goal scorer from the Premier League, but all competitions, including Europe.
Haaland. He's just the human cheat code. He's actually my hope for why we could catch City, because I think he's made City more direct. I mean, they still can possess a ball like no other team out there, but I think that their desire is to just get him the ball. So I just think that's anyway. I think it's him, definitely him.
Do you think losing Gundogan is going to be much of a problem for them? Because he was their metronome in midfield, wasn't he?
I think losing him and Mahrez are big losses for them, and I think that's why I think the gap between Arsenal, if Arsenal continue to play the way they've played and continue to improve the way they have under Arteta, I think that's the reason why that Arsenal closes the gap this season.
I mean, you're taking last season, he scored 8 goals in 31 in the Premier League. Season before that, 8 in 27. Season before that, 13 in 28. I'm a Dortmund fan, so I never thought I'd see the day where he would go on and be that good in the Premier League because he was okay for Dortmund. But to take away that many goals in midfield, and like you're saying, with Mahrez, how many times in other competitions last year, not necessarily the Premier League, they brought him in for the FA Cup game, scored a hat-trick, took him out for the league game.
Yep.
And yeah, so Mahrez, both of those are 32 years old, so they've made a move at a good time. But yeah, just looking, Mahrez, all competitions last year, 15 goals, then 24, 14, 13, 12. That is a lot. I know they've got the wonderful, is it Rodri in midfield there? So he's a really good young player, but hopefully it's going to take a while for those two to adjust to losing him.
That's my hope. Yep.
So championship winner, what have you got?
I'm gonna go with somebody that's not on the list, and I'm gonna go with Sunderland.
I think somebody has picked Sunderland.
Has somebody picked Sunderland?
There is one. There you go. It was Mike McDonald. You know him, don't you?
Yes, I agree with Mike. I think Sunderland are going to actually surprise. They got into the playoffs. They look good. They seem to be building a half-decent squad. Yeah, I think that they're going to surprise people and win the championship next year.
Jolly good. It's always I always like the bloggers because you always have an alternative idea. You don't just go with what everyone else is going for. Partly because you're all hipsters, but partly because you like to be a little bit different. First Premier League manager to be fired, sacked, shown the door.
I think he's going to quit on his own, and it's going to happen before the season starts, and it's going to be Moyes.
Oh no, quitting doesn't count.
Oh, then he's going to get sacked. Then he's going to get sacked because he's going to moan about the lack of transfers. They look awful. So they sold us Rice for $100 million, and they just sold Skamaka or whatever his name is for 20. So they have $125 million to spend on transfers, and they have 26 days left to spend it and make that team better. Or they are right now, they are my presumptive. If they don't do anything, they are my first choice to go down. They're going to sack Moyes and then they're going to go down, which will be a shame for them sacking Moyes because I think they're only good because they've only played well because of Moyes.
Yes, true. I like Skamaka when he was playing for Sassuolo last season. They've spent 30 million quid on him, 5 million in extras, a 10% sell-on clause, which they might use on themselves, and then so they're going to sell him back for 20 million. He never once used him right. He was a Giroud type player, just with more tattoos and a little bit more crazy. And he's young and he's fast. And I saw the YouTube videos of him and thought, my God, what a player! That's exactly the kind of player that we need as an alternative to all the quick, pacey wingers and people like that we've got. I would have liked to see him, but I'm glad they took the chance and it messed up with them because I don't think he'd have done the job for us now looking at it. But Italians very rarely travel well, do they?
No, they don't. They really don't. You could probably count on one hand the number of Italians that have actually really done well, and one of them now plays for Arsenal.
Yeah, it does indeed. So there you go. There's all your predictions. It's I like the fact that you've gone for Sunderland, only the second person to go for that, and the rest of them are very logical decisions, which might mean at the end of the season, I'm going to pick out. I mean, probably going to get a point for each one that you've guessed, and then at the end of the season, I don't think you're going to be far off the top of the league, and I'm going to be right near the bottom because I've got Arsenal to win the Premier League and the Champions League.
But here's the thing though. I don't think Arsenal winning the Premier League is that far-fetched of an idea. Yeah. I really don't. I think when you look at I do think Liverpool has probably I think Liverpool has done good business this window. Whether they can fix that defense and whether they're I think that they lost a lot by losing Mane. Whether they can replace, was it Mane? Sane? I always get them. I always say the wrong name. Anyway, Sane to.
The one that went to Bayern. They both went to Bayern Munich, didn't they? Yeah, one was a German international, and the other one wasn't.
Yeah, and anyway, but
better hair.
But I think that they lost something. I also thought that. Salah did not play very well last season. I think they'll be better. I think that they did good business. But outside of them and Arsenal, I'm not so sure you could really point to anybody else's business and say it's dramatically earth-shattering for changes in terms of the squad. I think United are going to be limited by Ten Hag. I still don't see a discernible style in their play. Chelsea will look better, but they won't be better. They'll look better because I think Pochettino brings structure to. They're very young, but they're weak in the midfield. They're weak on set pieces. They're just going to get overrun through the middle by teams. I think that's going to hurt them. And then Tottenham is just Tottenham. And Newcastle's obviously going to be the dark horse, I think. But I don't know how people felt about Newcastle. I wasn't really overly convinced by them last season. I thought they did better, but I think if Liverpool plays to Liverpool's potential, they're in that third spot and not Newcastle or fourth spot or whatever.
I don't think Newcastle expected Howe to go and do what he did. I thought they'd get him in short term, and they've just been probably someone on hold waiting to tell him they got the job, and he's gone. Oh, he's doing pretty well. So as soon as he messes up, they'll go for a glory manager.
Yes,
and then they go down that route, which would be.
It all has that first few years feel of City to it when they had what's his name as the manager.
Mancini.
No, before Mancini.
Stuart Pearce?
No.
Ericsson?
No, the former Man United guy.
Wow.
Why can't I? Okay, I'm going to have to look this up. All right, hold on a second.
They had so many managers in those early stages.
I know.
Oh, Mark Hughes.
Mark Hughes. There we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yes.
It all feels like Mark Hughes, right?
Yeah.
It's just somebody who, you're because right now still, even though Newcastle has all this money and they've just made the Champions League, they're still an unknown entity, and nobody wants to do anything there until they're absolutely sure. I think if they were to make the Champions League again this season, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of Howe and tried to bring in some sort of name to manage that team.
I mean, Jose always likes a job in England, doesn't he? He likes to go and ruin stuff, but he's not doing much at Roma, is he?
No, he's not. He's not. They're a mid-table team there, right? So
yeah.
But it's going to be a fun season again. I think I'm so happy that our supporters have something to be happy about, right? To celebrate and go to. I think the environment last season. And Arteta's been trying to, has been talking a lot about it. It's just been so fundamental to even the performance of the team on the pitch. So I'm excited. I'm waiting for it. I don't put too much into tomorrow because I know that Liverpool won it last year. Let's keep that in mind. Liverpool won the Community Shield last season and got severely trounced through the rest of the season.
So if we win it, it's a great trophy. If we don't win it, it's a meaningless trophy.
But I'm still look. I'm a practical person. Even if we win it, I'll be like, okay, that's great. There'll be lessons to learn from it, but it doesn't matter until next week. None of it matters until next week.
Well, it would be nice to do an early season triple because we won the Emirates Cup and we've won the other one in one of the friendlies. We won a cup and now we win the Charity Shield. So that's three trophies in a month. That's more than Spurs have won in about 20 years.
There you go.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. That's pretty good. So if people want to come and find you on Twitter or find your stuff, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, so I think I told you pre-show, I kind of took some time off from writing. 15 years just working on content myself, trying to get people to come in and work with me kind of took its toll. Plus, moving up the executive chain at work kind of also means my time becomes a premium. But I'm going to probably start writing up here again in about a week or so. But you can find me right now. I'm tweeting as much as I can at You're My Arsenal. I hope you'll give me a follow. I hope to be writing again on a regular basis for this season and turning out content again. So.
Jolly good, and the Arsenal will give you plenty of stuff to write about, including back in the Champions League, and
That's right.
Exciting.
That's the best part of all of this about this season. Back where we belong.
Excellent, and you're going to come and join us for some shows because you haven't been on in ages. Because I get extremely lazy organising stuff. I just tend to ask people in the WhatsApp group. I thought in the next season I'm going to start getting people that I know that are good quality and get them.
Yeah, I'm going to be so anytime I'm this was actually it was my first visits to Bergkamp Wonderland were actually the impetus that got me started in my own podcast. Right when I started that, it was just I had so much fun doing it. People loved, because I remember at the time I was the token American on the show, and everybody loved my little rants that I went on.
Yeah, and
so it became I started getting all the feedback. Hey, who doesn't have an ego when people tell you that you're making sense? They appreciate your opinion. But I'm going to be doing stuff like I'm going to be working with the folks over at the Highbury squad, and I'm going to be doing a goalkeeper show with them, specifically focusing in on the position of goalkeeper throughout the season. So I'll be doing that, and then just popping up here and there throughout the season. I'm going to probably do some stuff with Tom Canton on his Gunner Talk stuff. So I'm out there, and I will start having my own stuff. I just needed time off. I really have. 15 years took a lot out of me. So
yeah, well, ABW celebrated their 10th anniversary in July, just gone, and we've got 1,160 something videos, 70 or 80 something videos on YouTube now, and the glory days of podcasting are long gone unless you're one of about one or two podcasts.
Right, there's
so many now.
You know what? There's so many great podcasts out there. There's so much great Arsenal related content. I'm only just I'm not filling a void. I'm just adding to the possible, So.
Excellent. Right. That's all now. So all we need you to do now is say goodbye to the wonderful Gooners listening, and then I will roll the end credits.
Thank you, everybody. It's been great, Danny. Thanks for having me. Goodbye, everybody. But I hope you'll come follow me on Twitter.
There we go. Cheers.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
You nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I was just eating a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at Ibs, so when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on and bosh, Bob's your uncle.
Never in doubt.